Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of Talking Halos. I'm your host today, Jared Timms, and I am joined alongside my co-host, my partner in crime, Nate Green. Nate, I think you know
Forget
what's going
about
on
me.
here. Yep, forget about you. Woo. The man, the myth, the legend, world famous, the man who knows all things draft, all things. I'm hyping it up right now for you. Taylor
Yeah,
Blake Ward. Taylor, how you doing?
I'm doing, man. I'll never forget about Nate, though. Nate's the man.
No, Taylor Blake Ward is the man.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Did you? Are you recovered now, or are we
No,
still
no,
we want
no. That's gonna take some time. Got recaps. Gotta get guys signed. It's a big one.
Yes.
Talking to agents, saying, "Hey, what's the dollar figure?"
It is. It is that time. Again, throw it all out there. The world famous Taylor Blake Ward. Where can we find you? The book, of course. All that fun stuff.
Yeah, you can find my work at homeplayview.com. You can find me on Twitter at Taylor Blake Ward. Got a book out, Searching Millionaires, Life of a Baseball Gypsy, available on Amazon, among other places. Got a few things going with Angels Win right now. Chuck Richter brought me on to do some things for him, so thanks, Chuck. And yeah, it's good to be on. You can find my podcasting stuff right here.
Yep. Taylor Blake Ward, new official co-host. Nate, I don't think you realize that yet. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Nate, how you
We'd
doing?
take it.
How you doing?
I'm
Nate?
good. I'm good. Excited to talk some more draft stuff.
Absolutely. Day 4 of our draft coverage. If you didn't get enough of it, you're going to get more of it today. Super excited to talk. Before we get going, subscribe wherever you are listening. Go follow us on all our social medias, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can follow myself on Twitter, Jared_Timms, Nate on Twitter, NateGreen34, and Taylor, say it again because we didn't hear it enough.
At Taylor Blake Ward.
There you go. Go follow all of us there. Sweet. So I think everybody knows we have the draft that just ended. We have, honestly, one of the utmost authorities in the draft. Does years of research. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I guess multiple.
You know what's going on. You know what's going on. So, I mean, first question right off the bat: how'd you like what the Angels did? They didn't go 20 of 20 this year pitching wise, but how'd you like what they did?
Yeah, I thought they did a fine job. I mean, I think for almost everyone, I think you can say they did a fine job on paper. But I like what they did in the first round with Zach Netto. A guy that you believe is going to be your shortstop of the future, and finding a true shortstop, it's tough to find. There aren't a lot of guys, even right now in the major leagues, a lot of teams are still looking for an everyday shortstop, the Angels included. So I like that that's kind of the direction they went. Hopefully that is the scenario for them. Ben Joyce, how can he not? I mean, it's a unicorn, and that is huge, massive. I've been talking about that for a long time. As I said, I hope the Angels go get Ben Joyce in the third. Even I don't think he was going to be available, but said it for a long time. That's where I wanted them to go. And then, a lot of power bats that are very interesting, and you only really need one to hit to kind of call it successful. And the arms that they took, I found were very interesting. I think a lot of relief upside mostly, but a lot of interest. The stuff is going to be electric from the pitchers, and the power is very real for all the hitters. So, on paper, I really like it.
Nate, so listening to Taylor, we weren't that far off.
No. This sounds like what you and I have been saying. Thankfully, we were able to get some insight from Taylor though beforehand, which helped a little bit. But pretty similar to what we have been preaching to the choir so far.
Absolutely. So you mentioned it right off the bat, Taylor. Zach Netto, Angels took him in the first round, 13th overall. Am I right on that? I think it's 13th.
Yes, 13th.
Been a couple days. 13th overall. Tell us about Zach Netto. It sounds like there's already a deal in place. What do you know on that front? Do you think it's underslot, or do you think an overslot?
Around slot is what it sounds like. Nothing guaranteed, but it sounds like he is meeting with the Angels currently. So I don't think it's going to be long before he is signed. But yeah, an exciting kid, a lot of flair to his game, and a pretty well-rounded game. I don't think he's going to be a guy that strikes out a lot. A lot of plate coverage, some sneaky power in there, maybe some 20 home run kind of outcome kind of guy. And, a lot of it hinges on whether or not he can stay as shortstop. I think he has that opportunity. I think he's got the skill set. And, having an everyday shortstop is such a high value to have. So if this is the guy that can hit, he can hit for power. He's an aggressive base runner, maybe able to steal some bases for you and play some premium defense. if he can be average across the board, I think he's a really exciting kind of prospect to bring into the organization.
This wouldn't change any offseason plans this offseason of the Angels going out and getting a shortstop, much needed shortstop, right?
I mean, it could. I mean, it's not, if you find a way to get a guy like Xander Bogaerts or Dansby Swanson, and you have a 5-year, 6-year plan with them, there's nothing wrong with starting Zach Netto if your plan is to have him be your infielder of the future over someone like Jeremiah Jackson. There's no issue having him over at third base or second base once Rendon's done at third. Where David Fletcher goes is going to be a question. So there's no issue having a guy like this. That having up the middle talent is never a problem. And you can move guys if they hit their way there, and if they play defense on their way there, you can find a spot for them. So whether that be second, short, third, wherever it is, I don't think it really alters their plan. But it could assist in believing that you don't have to go into a 10-year deal a la Corey Seager or something like that.
Absolutely. And you already mentioned it, Ben Joyce, one of the most fun players in the draft, probably the funnest player in the draft when it comes down to it. Best fastball I've been saying it since Steven Strasburg. Haven't seen a fastball like it. You called it, man. What are the thoughts on that?
I am glad I called it. I didn't think he would be available at all for the Angels. I thought someone was going to take him in the second round and have him up come September. Someone in the playoff race, just, you can't buy this kind of velocity, and you can't find it in the trade market. You can't find it in free agency. So the fact that you were able to do it, this is, there are 2 other pitchers in baseball that challenge him. Maybe 3, Dubon in San Francisco is maybe the only one that's up there. But, this is a Jordan Hicks, Aroldis Chapman kind of special velocity that is very rare. We never see it. And it's something that you can never really have an opportunity to get. And the fact that, 30 teams passed over multiple times, or some of them multiple times, is really impressive to me that the Angels were able to get someone of this quality. And, I'm a firm believer you don't take relievers early in the draft, but this is a one outlier, and it's like, wow, you don't have guys that average 101 on the norm. And to be able to bring that into your organization and everyone knew once he hit pro ball that there's going to be questions about, how are you going to develop an arm like this? There's a lot of questions as to, is the breaking ball going to turn into something? Is he going to be a 2-pitch guy, 1-pitch guy? Or are you going to have to sit on that fastball nonstop? The Angels sound like they have a pretty good plan with him. I don't think, I said that he could be up next week based on purely just the velocity, and a lot of people took that out of context. But, this is a guy that this could change your offseason plans. This is a reliever that could be there for you next year very easily. Like I said, that velocity is so rare and is uncommon that you could suddenly have that sitting in your lap for the winter and not have to worry about picking up an extra reliever.
Are you worried about an out pitch at all? I know that's something in the makings, and Angels have actually done a really good job of it.
Fastball is an out pitch for him.
I was going to say, 105 miles per hour is pretty out pitch to
gets
me.
outs. Chapman only used 1 pitch most of the time when he was elite.
I think that the more I talk to people, the slider is just a question. It's usable. Everyone says it's a usable slider. It's more a separation-based thing. He has to command it. He just doesn't have command of it. So it's finding that feel for the slider and finding that location for it. Away from that, there are people that grade it plus. There are people that grade it plus. I think that's more separation-based than anything because of the ugly swings that it gets. But realistically, having an average slider with 105 is an out pitch. And it doesn't have to be 105. 101's an out pitch. 99's an out pitch. So I'll take that fastball every single day.
That's fair. And Angels have done a really good job of going out there and producing that secondary pitch, whether it's a changeup or slider or even a curveball. We've seen it with Detmers. We've seen it with a lot of guys coming up. So I'm not worried about that by any means. I just worry about, having that second pitch. I know 105 is cool and everything, but I think major league hitters can time that up eventually. Maybe not. I don't think any of us could, but maybe you, Taylor.
No, I mean, it's understandable. You want 2 pitches at minimum. He does throw a changeup. It's very rarely used. The raw product is that it's 10-mile separation. So it works. There is separation there. It's about 91, 92 mile per hour changeup. But you want a second pitch there no matter what. But even if that second pitch is average, that's all you're really looking for. You want it to be above and you want it to be plus. You want it to be 80 grade, right? Every pitch should be 80 grade. But to have one 80 grade pitch and a 50 grade pitch, it'll work in relief.
Yeah, you get something that's 80 grade in the third round is pretty cool too. You don't see that too often. So Nate, you got anything that you want to ask?
Well, I was just gonna kind of go back with the Ben Joyce thing. So Angel fans are gonna want to know when this guy's gonna be in the big league roster. When's the earliest you think we see him?
I need an exact.
Yeah, we want a prediction, the exact date.
If he signs tomorrow, he could be up on Thursday night. No,
no. People are going to take that seriously.
I know they will. No, I mean, realistically, I thought whoever took him could put him in the playoff push. I don't think the Angels are in contention this year. If they believe they are, and they do something, magnificent going into September, yeah, I wouldn't be stunned. I mean, like I said, you have 101 coming out of the bullpen is not something you just get. So it wouldn't be shocking to me. But I think with the Angels out of contention, I'm going to say sometime next year. Like I said, you have a reliever in the winter already locked in for you. So I think next year is a pretty good outcome. I think they're going to keep him in relief. They say that they haven't closed the door on having him be a starter in development. I don't think that's going to be a real outcome. They might do it, very sparsely. But yeah, next year would not surprise me in the least bit.
Possibility to win a job out of spring?
Yeah. Purely velocity. I mean, that's a special arm. You just don't get to pick that up anywhere.
I like it. I do like it. Nate, you got anything else on the Netto standpoint, or are we good to move on?
No, I think we're good on Netto and Joyce.
Sweet. I like it. I like what the Angels did there. Let's talk day 2 here real quick. Started with Joyce, ended with Kootenai, I believe is how you told me that it is pronounced. What do you got on day 2? How'd you like it? They went out and did some interesting things. What do you got?
Favorite guy from day 2?
Yeah, some upside guys. I think they're all relievers. Jake Madden is very interesting. The overall package is very interesting. The frame is a starter kit. It has to throw strikes, very similar to Victor Medeiros, who's been on prospect radar for a long time. Miami arm that transferred to Oklahoma State. That's very interesting. The stuff is fantastic, but hasn't been able to throw strikes. So realistically, just development arms to me that are probably relief profile in the long run. And the bats. Power is another thing that just doesn't come along all the time. And this kind of power that they got between Dylan Phillips, interesting two-way guy. I don't know how he's going to fare on the mound. I don't know if that's going to be really much of more than development interest. The Angels do believe he is a prospect on the mound, though. But the bat is interesting. Joe Stewart, senior sign. Matt Kootenai, senior sign. Sonny DiChiara, really like him. Part of the big boy club. He's going to get unfair comparisons to Billy Butler, Dan Vogelbach, people like that. But I think that's an outcome that you're hoping for, is he can be one of those guys, a big non-athletic slugger who fits into a DH first base question mark kind of role. Really like him. Really feel like he can hit. He can hit for power. Just what's his role going to be? And when is Shohei not going to be the DH? When is there's a lot of questions there. But interesting. I think is just a way to put it. Is there's a lot of tools in there that are definitely major league tools that just have to kind of come into refinement and development. DiChiara is probably the guy that I like the most out of that, but there's nothing wrong with Jake Madden. I think there's a pretty special power arm in there as well.
Absolutely. Madden, maybe a starter?
Chance, yeah. He's athletic. That arm is really loose. I would put it, it's more than a non-zero chance. There is a chance, and he's going to be a starter in development. He might be one of the tougher signs, in all honesty. I'm sure they're going to sign him. Anyone that goes day 1 or day 2, 99% chance they're going to sign. Chance of being a starter. Definitely has that starter kit profile. He's going to get stronger. There's room to fill out. The stuff, he's got, 3 legitimate pitches, so that helps. It's just, can he throw strikes? That's the big one for me. And the Angels have done well with having guys do throw strikes. He's an interesting one. A little less feel that Victor Medeiros could be a starter, and I think Roman Fansalker. I might even be butchering it now. I'm trying hard, but definitely a relief guy for me. I don't see any real starter side to him.
Yeah, absolutely. And we brought up Sonny DiChiara. All I heard there was Shohei Ohtani's replacement. We're going to not open that can of worms, though.
Way to go, Taylor.
Yeah,
you let him talk. Way to go.
Where does all this speculation start?
I'm kidding.
He's not.
Am I though? Let's go. Let's move to day 3. Really like what they did on day 3 as well. On my front, I don't know if you agree with me. Started with Caden Dana, ended with Brennan Tinsman. Let's talk a little bit about day 3. Was there somebody in particular you like there?
Yeah, I mean, I have a horrendous obsession with Puerto Rican players, especially infielders. So Saban Caballos, infielder moved to behind the backstop. Just bad obsession with Puerto Rican baseball players. I loved William Rivera when he was in the organization too, when he was drafted. So that's just, me. I'm going to automatically draw myself to him. But kid with a plus arm. I think he's athletic enough to move around. I think he could be a third base catcher. Shortstop, I would question maybe, but, center fielder. I mean, the guy has the athleticism to kind of be a super versatile catcher who has some physical strength. I don't know how the bat's going to play all in all. I don't know if he'll hit enough, but really an interesting guy to me. Obviously, Caden Dana, high school arm out of New Jersey, really exciting 2-pitch mix. Obviously has a starter kit frame, starter arm. I mean, that arm action is really easy to fall in love with. I think there's a lot to like there. He's going to get Noah Syndergaard comparisons, which I think are totally unfair. I mean, to compare someone to that caliber is to compare an 18-year-old to get that caliber is a little rough. But that's the kind of arm that you're looking at. You're hoping that you can get something along those lines that can be a mid-rotation kind of arm in the distant future. Bryce Osmond, probably a tough sign, but another guy that has really electric stuff that's interesting. More so on anything, just, it's a stuff-based kind of day 3. The tools are there. Luke Franzoni, Brennan Tinsman, power guys that are very interesting. Tucker Flint, another interesting guy that I think athleticism. He was the one kind of outlier when it came to the position players. I think he's an athletic guy who could be up the middle kind of thing outside of, Zach Netto is interesting. So Jared Southard, redraft from 2019, 20th round pick in 19. Now he's back with has a chance to be back with the Angels here, and interesting arms. Day 3, a lot of tools that are interesting. I always say, if you're going to take someone that has major league tools. And I think that all these guys that they took, I think they all have a major league tool at minimum, which is really all you're asking for. And are they major leaguers? That's up in the air, but I think there's some interest there.
Yeah, absolutely. And all together, this draft was a little bit different than last year. Obviously, they went 20-20 pitching. Angels also brought in a new scouting director this year as well, which is super interesting. Do you think that had any play in what they did? I felt like it was a similar draft, but at the same time, they went a lot higher upside, but they also went safe on the hitting side of things. So
yeah, I mean, Matt Swanson, I love Matt Swanee. He's one of the nicest guys in the business. I think he's going to have a lot of success wherever he goes. Came from the Cardinals, had a lot of very talented guys when he was with the Cardinals. Same with the Angels here. We're seeing a lot of what's going on with the Angels with Matt Swanson's decision-making in there. Athleticism is a big thing. I think when you're talking about the risk situation, I think the difference with Matt Swanson and Tim McElvain is you look at age relevance, things like this. A little bit of the model is a little different to me. I think the up-the-middle profile, a guy that you rely on being an up-the-middle athlete or a pitcher that does throw strikes kind of thing, a little bit safer. I think that was more Matt Swanson's direction. And I think with this, I think there was an analytical approach to the draft for the Angels this year. We saw a lot of the position players be among the leaders in OPS, WOBA, on base, home runs, a lot of power numbers. They wanted to add power. So I think that, there are differences, but nothing that dramatically alters the course of the Angels. I think, I think they're addressing things. I think a lot of this has actually Perry Manassian, even though it's 2 different scouting directors, I think Perry Manassian has a lot of say in there. Last year they needed pitching depth in the organization. They sure got it. This year they needed power in the organization. They sure got it. So I think it's more of an organization philosophy than it is any set guy that's in the draft room. And I think that maybe this year, maybe a little bit more analytical, maybe a little bit more of a throwback to where Billy Epler was with Matt Swanson. When it came to the pitchers, though, a lot of these guys, high ERAs, the numbers didn't really sit there. It's more of a stuff based, and we know that Perry loves stuff plus. One of his biggest drawing traits is stuff plus. And a lot of these kids have that kind of caliber stuff. So more than anything, I don't know if I would say a drastic change between Tim McIlvain and Matt Swanson. I would say it seems very Perry-based through the draft.
Absolutely. Nate, you got anything?
I was just going to say, we brought up yesterday that the Boston College kid, Max Geach, and I might have butchered the name, could be a tough sign. What do you think on that? Sophomore kid, Boston College is going to want him back, trying to get maybe one more year, maybe get him higher in the draft. What do you think?
If I'm remembering right, I think he might actually have a different commitment to Boston College. I think he might be heading somewhere else. Sorry, I had someone at the window.
Grad transfer guy?
I think he might be. Off the top of my mind, he might be. I think the toughest sign is going to be Bryce Osmond, realistically. I think he's a guy that could go next year and make some big money in the third, fourth round, maybe even higher. So, I was just talking to someone about this. Obviously, Caden Dana is going to be your big bonus figure on the third day, and a lot of your surplus funds from your savings from day one and day two are going to go to him. But I think if I were a betting man, I would say Bryce Osmond would be the last to sign if he does sign, and it's going to be what that 5% overage is going to allow them to kind of get with him.
Yeah, kind of reminds me. I've been saying it. I love Osmond, by the way. Kind of reminds me of the Braden Olthoff pick last year. I was worried about signing Olthoff. At the same time, Olthoff had a really good year, where I think that Osmond again could definitely go higher next year if he goes back to Oklahoma State. So, Nate, you got anything else before we let Taylor go?
No, I think this was really, really good. Taylor, thank you for coming on. Thank you for helping us out again. Thank you again.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. It's a pleasure. The draft is always fun, and maybe Jared will stop texting me now.
Oh, that Jared guy. Man.
No, but
always bothering people.
Always a pleasure. So I gotta say, Nate Green did mess me up on something though. I did not expect Mikey Romero to go in the first round.
I was kind of shocked that Mikey went right before the Yankees. I thought that was gonna. I'm sure the Yankees scouting director was a little upset with that one.
Nah, I think the Yankees are pretty happy with where they went with Spencer Jones. I think he was their target most of the time, but still, I know that the Yankees did like Mikey. Just very surprised he went in the first round there.
Kind of like the Nick York pick from 2 years ago, right? Out of
Boston. A little bit. The Nick York pick was obviously really surprising, but it just shows how much smarter the industry, the baseball executives and scouts are than the industry. Nick York, fantastic baseball player who projected second, third round and went in the first round, I think at like 17 or 18. He was a teen pick, and he's proven why. So, I think that's just part of the proof of why the people that work in the baseball industry are that much better than most of us.
What? They don't listen to our podcast? Come on. Taylor, tell everybody again where they can follow you, where they can find your work and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Taylor Blake Ward. You can find my book on Amazon, among other outlets. That's In Search of Millionaires, Life of a Baseball Gypsy. And find my work, homeplayview.com, and a little bit of draft content over at Angels Win.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on. And guys, thank you so much for listening to this podcast here at Talking Halos. Again, you can subscribe wherever you are listening or watching. You can follow us on all of our social medias, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Follow myself on Twitter, Jared_Tims, Nate at NateGreen34. And guys, thank you so much for listening and have a great rest of your day.